think that I deserve this title. I have been developing it since elementary school when me and some of my friends would ditch recess to spend time organizing and stickering books in our elementary school library, like the nerds we were. And from then I volunteered at the middle school library, the high school library, and eventually got a paid internship at the public library. And along with that, I just read a ridiculous number of books. So I feel qualified in telling you, the AP literature class, that I want you to put down your books and watch more television. And I think that, I'm telling you this because I think television is a highly underappreciated form of art. And there are other forms of art that are underappreciated as well, like video games, comic books, anime, manga, and even graffiti and street art. But television is my personal favorite. That's the one I'm going to talk about. Now, a lot of well-intentioned adults will try and tell us that television is bad for you. They'll tell you that it's going to rot your brain and that you're going to waste your life staring at the television screen. And why can't you just turn off the show and pick up a book? I get that one a lot. And it always makes me wonder why people think that books are inherently better for you than movies, than television, because that's not true. Books and television are both have the same purpose. They're both trying to convey a story to you. And while the way they tell it to you is different, the purpose is the same, and neither one is better or worse at telling that story. So I think there are three main things that make a story, or two main things that make a story valuable. And one is the story discusses ethics and morals, and two, that it increases its audience's ability to empathize and their knowledge. And I'm going to talk about how television is as capable of doing this as any other form of media. So in discussing ethics, sci-fi tends to be the best example in television for that. And two older shows that sort of pioneered this were Star Trek and Doctor Who, some of my personal favorites. And because of their episodic format, they were able to discuss lots of different unrealistic scenarios, many different ones over their seasons, and promote lots of different discussions in the beginning of really important ideas on morals and ethics about humanity, what makes us human, what makes humanity worth saving, when you have to sacrifice maybe the needs of the few in order to help the many, and other really difficult topics. And all of these things, and promoting those discussions is always a positive aspect for society in general and in ourselves in order to continue growing. And next, increases your empathy and knowledge. In stories, you're able to get inside someone's head, and you're able to see what makes them tick, how they react to different situations, what motivates them. And books are generally praised for being able to show you someone's exact thoughts, which is good at helping you learn to empathize with people. But television is just as capable of doing that. You still are able to see the intimate personal moments of a person's life through this, and if the actors are good enough, you're able to see their emotions written across their face in a way that can be just as clear and possibly more moving than if you're merely reading about those emotions on a piece of paper. And when you're able to have such a connection with a character and able to empathize with people that are very different from you in a wide range of people, you're allowed to you can take that ability and use it to relate better to people in real life that you interact with on a daily basis. And secondly, it can increase your knowledge. There are television shows about every different subject. You can learn about different cultures. You can learn about different historical times, like Bomb Girls is a great show, teaches you about gender inequalities during World War II. It's brilliant. Or even something as silly as Everybody Hates Chris actually teaches a lot about inherent racism in society and how to deal with that. You can learn about all sorts of different things through television shows. And that knowledge is something that we shouldn't take for granted and dismiss merely because it's coming to us in the form of television as opposed to in the form of a book. And so lastly, I like to talk about my personal favorite television show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer is often dismissed dismissed by people because it's about a teenage girl who fights vampires. But in all honesty, it's a very deep show, and it discusses a lot of very heavy topics. And it discusses them in a very wise and powerful way. It discusses everything from death and grief to addiction, depression, rape, self-harm, and many other very intense topics, while still managing to stay entertaining and keep its entertainment value to the group it's directed at, teenagers, which is very impressive. And the way it's done is very powerful. But people will dismiss it automatically as being mindless and meaningless just merely because it's a fantasy television show. And by not watching shows like Buffy and many other types of television shows, they're limiting themselves in the ability of art that they're allowing into their lives, because they truly believe television can be art. So, finally, I would just like to recommend to all of you to don't let this idea of media bigotry, that one form of media is better than another, to limit you in what you embrace in your life. Find whatever type of storytelling and art you really connect with the most, and just dive into it. And most importantly, remember to watch more television.